But I mean, if you work in that industry,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
know what you're saying.
you're conscious of that.
Right.
All right, I say we go live and wing this.
Okay. I don't have a whole lot to say, so.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit start broadcast, and once I do, I'll wait, and then I'll just start like I normally would. All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, Titans fans, and welcome to episode 125 of the Two-Tone Crew. I am Jonboy, and we are actually coming to you live. It's been a while since we've done this, but we thought, what better way to pay it back to you guys for the fiasco that's been the last 2 episodes than to go live with the show. So it will still be posting on iTunes, on all the podcast services, but if you happen to catch this on the Twitter account or on titansreport.com right now, then you can definitely check it out live right here. So joining me tonight, we have Jamal.
We are more live than the Titans' chances at making the playoffs if they keep losing to other teams in the division.
And we also have Scotty back with us.
What's up?
Yeah, so this Google Hangouts, guys, is pretty cool. Scotty, I don't know if you've played around with it much, but we could just have Jamal here talking. So Jamal, just start saying some of your long-winded comments here.
I'm a little teapot, short and stout.
Hang on,
and then we can just
the mute
kill it.
button.
We can mute him. We can mute him live right there. And now we can bring him back.
Great.
Laughter. So yeah, if anything, you don't like. What's weird though is it gives that power to all of us. So
yes, well,
we could just constantly kind of mute each other back and forth here.
Turnabout is fair play.
Yeah. So this is episode 125 of the Two-Tone Crew. If this is your first time listening, we are the official podcast of titansreport.com. This is a weekly show during the season where we discuss the latest Titans game and preview the upcoming game. And of course, this week, unfortunately, we have a loss to talk about. So the 2 podcasts that we had technical issues on were both wins. And now, unfortunately, we have a loss here on episode 125. So Colts at the Titans is the game we're discussing here. And yet again, the Colts streak continues against the Titans. 9 straight now, which is just almost unbelievable. I really can't believe they have won 9 straight games. It's the longest running streak.
Haven't they won 10? I think
Luck
has beaten us 9 times. I think they've won 10.
Oh, Luck has beaten us 9.
I think that's right.
That's so terribly bad. I think I saw you tweeting that today, actually, about the 9, how he's beaten us 9 times.
Yeah, well, because Sal Capaccio had tweeted something about players having beaten a single opponent, and what was the record? And the record's only like 25 times. It's like he's already halfway there.
Only 25 times? That's crazy.
Was it Brett? I think it was Brett Favre, right? Beat somebody.
Yeah, well, Brett Favre.
Times.
I think he was like number 1 and number 3, having beaten up on the Bears and the Lions, something like that. Somebody's getting close to the record, though. Probably Brady, but somebody is.
Yeah,
it's Brady.
Well, yeah, so we have whatever you're seeing on screen, that may change. It may turn into a wider black screen from time to time. We're still kind of playing around with the screen share features here. But once we get all this figured out, it could actually be pretty cool because we could pull up videos and talk about plays on the air and discuss them live as you guys are able to see them as well. So for tonight, we'll probably just be using it for some images and stats. But guys, this was a game that really the Titans were in it the whole way, had chances to win, and I just thought it was a total team effort in terms of losing that game across the board. We were just beaten. We were beaten special teams. We were beaten offensively. We were beaten defensively. It was really just the Colts played a solid overall game, and honestly, the only time they really stopped them, they really only stopped themselves. I don't know that we did much to stop them. They had several penalties. In fact, the game really wouldn't have even down there at the end when the Titans kind of had a chance to come back. It really wouldn't have even been in discussion if they hadn't made that stupid penalty where Mariota threw the interception, which got called back. So it was very disappointing overall for me as a Titans fan to see such a big game at home, a game where you can really start to separate yourself in the division where we've got a logjam, because we could have been up near the top with the Texans, and then the Colts and Jags could have been buried at the bottom. Now it's just insane across the board there. And Andrew Luck, guys, I mean, his demise, I think, was greatly exaggerated. He had a fantastic game.
Yeah, he probably could have passed for 450 yards if players didn't drop the ball. I mean, he's fantastic, and anybody who can't admit that is probably a Titans fan, a Jags fan, or a Texans fan. What he does with less talent is just ridiculous.
That's probably the best game I've ever seen him play.
Pretty darn good game, no doubt. Can't take that away from him. So I'm going to pull up the box score here, and hopefully you guys can see this here in a moment when I present it here. 34-26, the final score, and you can just see his numbers there, Jamal. You said he could have thrown for more, and I agree. 353, 3 touchdowns. Only got to him twice, I think, which really was probably the biggest shock to me, is that we weren't able to get more pressure on him. I always expect Luck to be good, but any quarterback, when you're able to put pressure on them, you can slow them down and force them into some mistakes. But the Titans only got to him twice. He was getting rid of the ball very quick, 3 touchdowns. And I think, I can't remember, let's see if it actually shows on the page here, the number of drops here in the stats, because he had several drops. It doesn't actually 5 drops. Yeah, it doesn't show them here in the stats, but
some of them were bad drops too. I mean, right in their hands.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. When I mean, the Colts really just, anytime we stopped them, for the most part, was due to their own errors. You see T.Y. Hilton's number, 7 for 133. And honestly, it was kind of what I feared. I knew we were going to get the absolute best game from the Colts. I thought we would still be able to come out on top. And we very nearly did, despite everything. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is just a really bad loss for the Titans. They fall to 3-4 now, 1-3 at home. The only team, we talk about the AFC South being terrible, the only team did not have a division or a division win just yet. The Colts have beaten us. The Texans beat us. The Jags beat the Colts. And I think the Texans also, have they played the Jags yet? I think they played them as well. So Titans yet to get a division win. We'll have a chance to do that tomorrow night, which we'll talk about here a little bit later. But let's talk about the offense, guys, because if you just look at the numbers, you think, hey, not a bad day. Mariota 232, 2 touchdowns. Murray goes over 100 yards again. Delaney Walker, 84 yards, touchdown. But it was what they left on the field that was probably the most disappointing in this game. And with all the other miscues on special teams, on defense, and then on offense, I mean, that's a recipe for a really bad loss. And a lot of the discussion this week, I think rightfully so, has been on Mariota yet again. And you look at his numbers and you think, well, he didn't have a terrible game, but he had some throws out there that I know he'd like to have back. And he's already went on record talking about the footwork again. Scotty, what'd you think about his game overall in this one?
Well, the passing game, I'll say, was very bad. I mean, you hear all the talk about the receivers not getting the right depth and stuff. I personally think Mariota was pretty bad. He fumbled 2 snaps. He had an interception called back, and then he missed so many potential 3rd down conversions. But they also missed the screen to Murray that Mike Mayock showed with the
oh man, he could have ran so long.
Him and probably Matthews, both of those are probably long scoring drives. I mean, scoring plays. So, and if you're going to beat the Colts, you can't leave that many plays, that many 3rd down conversions on the field. You've got to. Mariota can't be expected to keep up with Luck, but he has to at least hold his own, and he didn't hold his own.
Yeah. You just look at it, it's like this side-by-side graphic you have right now. You look at it, he had 37 attempts compared to Luck's 39 attempts. And Luck certainly has more completions, but that average per attempt is huge. This passing game, if we don't hit that long bomb, we have nothing. It's just a bunch of short stuff that doesn't get yak. And that's combined with an offense that wants to run a lot. You just got no big plays. And I think I saw news to Tom. So Tom Gower posted something about how it was really late in the game before we converted a first down into a first down. Up until that, we had never gained more than 9 yards on first down. You can't plod down the field that consistently and ever blow a team out. Every game is going to be within reach of just one mistake being the dagger. And
but the plays were on the field, though. I mean, they were there to be made.
Well, yeah. The problem is, I mean, a lot of those plays, certainly the Matthews one down the field is a big missed opportunity, but like that's a single play in the game.
Well, Murray too. Murray, I mean, he tripped over the blitzer. That was wide open too.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that screen probably could have gone a while.
And the third down conversions that Mariota so blatantly missed. I mean, those extend drives. Those keep the clock running. I mean,
yeah, but those are all just the grind. I mean, I think one of the biggest problems we have is just it's an offense with grind, but then nothing to counter it. You have like one or two opportunities maybe throughout the game, and that's just not leaving yourself much window of opportunity. And I don't think that's necessarily a knock against coaching. We don't have wide receivers who are capable of that consistently. And then when you combine it with the scheme, then it becomes a problem. It's not like we've got guys out there, even a guy like DGB. We don't have anybody who you could just say like, have him go deep and throw it a couple of times. It's just not.
Well, you forgot one component. Mariota was missing those too.
Yeah, well,
Matthews
recently he's been better, but certainly it's not one of the strengths of his game.
I would like to know his numbers outside the numbers and beyond 20 yards because he does not do well in either category.
Paul Kuharski usually has a graphic. I don't know that we'll be able to find it right now, but he usually tracks it by game, and you can kind of, it's like depth and location. And so you could check that. He usually, I think, even has like a season running one. So you could check at least.
He's been doing better in that too, because I look at that every week when he tweets that out, and he was definitely trending up on that.
But by the way, Jamal, Andrew Luck, until late into the fourth quarter, he was actually averaging 11 yards a throw.
That's just crazy.
It actually went. I mean, he was putting lasers down the field. I saw a stat today that as far as the ball traveling in the air, this season, this is the entire 32 teams. It's the shortest passing game in NFL history. But they said Andrew Luck is the one guy that still has a deep passing game.
Yeah, and he gets abused for it physically.
Normally.
Not us. But that's actually a rather fascinating stat, because I'd say coming into this game, wasn't Luck one of the most sacked quarterbacks, and wasn't Marcus Mariota one of the fewest sacked, and yet they sacked Marcus more than we sacked Luck.
Yeah, but I think those injuries on the Colts offensive line actually help Luck. First of all, he knew he had to get rid of the ball, and the Colts also ran a lot of max protect where they only sent 2 receivers out in the patterns. Whenever he took a 5 or 7 step drop, they max protected.
So they were doing a lot of things that we hate to see from the Titans, but
that's what I was going to say.
They actually can execute it.
Well, when your quarterback, I mean, the quarterback's like throwing it down the field 30 yards, and it's like a 30-yard handoff. Luck is so accurate. Those guys were catching the ball downfield in stride. They never even had to break stride. I actually almost don't even fault the defense. Luck was so good. You almost can't defend what he was doing.
Well, certainly we couldn't defend it.
Yeah, you alluded to the sacks a little bit. You see the numbers there. They actually sacked Mariota more times than we got to Luck, 3 times for 25 yards, which is an area we have been improved in. And unfortunately, that final play, well, not final play of the game, but our offensive play where the sack fumble, which led to the touchdown. Schwenke, of course, was filling in because Spain got hurt and he got beat. You'd like to see Mariota get away from that, but the guard got beat, and they got the sack there, got the fumble, and ran it in. So that's unfortunate. But
I thought. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I thought he was under a lot more pressure in this game than he has been as of late. Took a lot of hits, even when they weren't sacking.
I thought it was the most he was beat up in this game.
So I'd say that last. Does that count as a sack? The strip fumble?
Yeah, yes, it does.
Yeah.
Okay. Because didn't he also have the one when he fumbled the snap? Wouldn't that have ended up as a sack?
No, because he picked it back up. I think he picked that one back up and threw it, I believe.
Did he throw it? Okay.
I don't think he threw it.
I was going to say, because if that's 2 of the 3, I thought in my mind he fell on it. And if that's 2 of the 3, then they really didn't get a whole lot of.
I thought he picked it up and threw it, but I can't remember. But if he got tackled, if he dropped it and got tackled, that's a sack. I know that Schwenke and also Kelly is also one of the other guys that gave up a sack.
Kelly gave up the sack, and on the air they were trying to say it was Conklin, but you can clearly see it wasn't.
Kelly actually played a lot of snaps on offense. He played, as
an extra blocker, as a tight end.
Yeah. They ran a lot of heavy stuff in this game.
That's interesting. I was trying to rewatch the game right before the podcast, and I noticed at least early on a number of the passing plays we had weren't as spread as we had gone. And I was trying to decide whether or not to make a point about that, but I haven't really charted it enough to
The last
really
couple
know.
of weeks, they have ran a lot more 2 and 3 tight end sets.
They had a lot of wide receiver play snap-wise this week compared to previous weeks. A lot more.
Yeah, look at those numbers there. We actually weren't as bad on third down as I remember. It's just that we were 9 of 15 there. It's just that they were so backbreaking at the time they happened. And like the one that comes to mind for me is the Andre Johnson one, where he's right there. Mariota's looking at him. He's making the right read. He's getting ready to throw, and he does a double pump for some reason and pulls it back and then throws it, and it's not even close to him. I would just love to know, like, what when they're in the quarterback room talking about that, what exactly happened there. I mean, he was looking in the right area, and he even had the right timing in a sense.
I think Malarkey did talk about it. He said,
did he talk about that one?
Well, he didn't specify the play, but he goes, I want him to be more aggressive. I want him to throw it. And I think that's what he's talking about.
And not worry about the mistakes.
He's afraid, which is kind of funny because he keeps making mistakes, but he's afraid of making mistakes, and he won't throw the ball when he should. Yeah. I think that's what Malarkey's talking about.
I feel like they've drilled that into him so much about not making the big turnover that we're seeing him be.
Well, he was saying, I want him to throw it. I've told him to throw it. So it almost sounds like they're telling him the opposite. They also had the third down where he hit Murray in the back of the head, which I would like to know what was going on there too, because it almost looked like Murray was trying to block.
Yeah, Murray was definitely blocking on that.
When the ball hit him in the head. I don't know if he thought that was a quarterback run or what.
I really, we talked about this a little bit on TitansReport.com. Sometimes I want to see more emotion from Mariota, not just because sometimes I think he's too laid back, but just because I want to be able to diagnose, like, who's to blame. If he had yelled at DeMarco Murray there, then you would have known, hey, it was DeMarco Murray's fault. Like, you get that with a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, heck, I want to call him Ryan
Hasselbeck.
Rivers is the
Phillip Rivers. One. Yeah, Phillip Rivers. I mean, you never have to question whether or not it's his guy's fault.
Maybe when it's someone else's fault, Mariota will yell at him.
But he never does.
I don't think that's MO at all.
That was a joke. It's been his fault every time.
No, there was assume that you're so negative on him that that's just what you think.
It did spark a good discussion.
I definitely think he was to blame for the game. So for most of the mishaps, it was his fault.
This time, Malarkey didn't even hardly defend him on the Mike Malarkey show.
Malarkey was going so far overboard up until this game. The passes were perfect to Matthews and Wright. They shouldn't have had to dive for it, but give me a break. You don't have to go that far.
despite all that, though, guys, he had the team with a 3-point lead. 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but that's partly because the Colts suck. Like we talked about this on the podcast that no one will ever hear. We have no business having lost to the Colts.
Nope, I agree.
And I know Andrew Luck had an amazing game, but he has pretty amazing games consistently. We should have been able to put this away, but you start just messing up stupid stuff. I mean,
I was going to say, forget Andrew Luck. Pretend like he didn't even play that. I mean, forget about how well he played. You gave up an onside kick.
mm-hmm.
You missed all those third down conversions. You missed a touchdown pass.
You missed your extra point.
You had a sack return, another defensive touchdown on you. I mean, you can't make those mistakes and win. You have to play pretty mistake free, and they didn't.
You can make those mistakes. You don't have to play mistake free to beat the Colts. You just can't make like 10 of them. You can do like 9 of those things that you just listed, but the 10th one will kill you.
I'm glad you brought that up because had it not been for the special teams miscues, there at the end when the Colts are driving, it's not a 3-point lead, it's a 7-point lead. And it would have just been for the tie instead of for the go-ahead score, all because of a missed PAT and then the onside kick, which we got very lucky on that one that they didn't get 7 off that as well. I think it was just one of the few bad passes he made of the day. He missed T.Y. Hilton wide open, and they had to settle for 3. But yeah, I mean, special teams miscues. You add all these things up. I think I said in one of my posts this week that if any one of those areas are better, whether Mariota plays better, whether the defense makes an extra stop, or whether we have less special teams miscues, if even one of those is better, we probably win that game easily.
I mean, you can say that, but you need the quarterback is going to be the reason people trade up and give all of the picks is because, your quarterback's going to overcome those sins. That's what I mean, he's just not good enough to do it yet.
He's not good enough to cover up the sin of Mike Mularkey.
At the end of the day, though, guys, don't you feel in a division game that if your team gives you the lead at the end of the day, you should expect the defense to make a stop? At the very least, hold them to 3. That's a standard I hold
on who you're playing. Did you expect?
I don't care who you're playing.
Did you expect them to stop the Colts? I didn't.
Yeah, I did actually, because the way they've been playing lately, our defense has been a second half team for the most part.
It's interesting. I'm trying to remember how I felt. I think I actually did expect us to stop them.
The Titans have a formula: control the clock, let the defense rest, run the ball, let Mariota run here and there. Let him. He's gonna lead them on some touchdown drives here and there, and they didn't get any of that done against the Colts. They fell behind. They only had the ball like 26 minutes.
27-30.
Yeah, 7 whatever.
Actually, that's got to be one of the first games we've ever lost time of possession. I wonder if it's the first one this year. We had the typical looks great in the 2-minute drill right before halftime.
And the first drive of the game, man, 5 of 5. They drive down, score a touchdown right out of the gate.
Didn't they score Didn't they score a touchdown on the first drive of the third quarter?
Should be able to find out pretty quickly.
Pull that up on the screen, John.
Because I was actually going to praise the coaches for those 2 drives. I mean, seriously, the first drive scripted. They obviously had the Lawan play in there.
It's interesting to see, at least on Twitter, a number of the people reviewing the game, instead of talking about how brilliant it was or anything else, they're just talking about how it's a type of play the NFL needs to outlaw.
I saw that too. The play to Lawan, yeah.
I never heard anyone say that. I mean, why?
Because you have a guy, even though he reported eligible, he lined up in a place that is typically for the left tackle, and so you're asking a lot of the defense. It's not like he's lining up elsewhere and reporting eligible.
Yeah, but when the wide receiver gets off the line of scrimmage, he's obviously eligible.
No, They have a point. I just don't know that it's as. I was surprised that they were making it as emphatically, and then I saw a couple of other national people. I think one of them was Keon Fahey, but a couple of other people like tagged on to say, "Yeah, I totally agree." I think it was Andy Benoit.
Yeah,
the one who
he
was
was live. He was tweeting all about the game today.
It's Benoit, isn't it, or something like that?
I don't know.
There's the drive summary, the scoring drives there on screen now.
So we did not score in the third quarter.
Yeah, no score in the third quarter at all. And in the fourth quarter, we came out and got the touchdown to Delaney there.
The fourth quarter.
This is kind of a random aside, but I don't know. I hate receiving to start the game, and Malarkey seems to love receiving to start the game. He does it every time we win the toss.
No, he didn't do it one time. Kaharski actually talked about this on his radio.
Did he?
Yeah, because someone called in and said exactly what you're saying, and they said every time, and he goes, "No, it's not every time. The one time they didn't do it, it backfired," and he said, "I'm not doing that again."
I'm curious. I need to look back and see the one time that he did not do it.
He said what game it was. I can't remember, but I mean,
was it a long time ago or a game this year?
No, it was this year.
Oh, okay. So it's like a philosophy of this year, not a long term.
I want to say the Raider
game. Held.
I want to say the Raider game, but I'm not sure about that. But
we must win the toss a lot then.
We do. I've listening to pregame on Titans radio. They've talked about it a couple times how we're getting that toss pretty regularly.
That's crazy.
Hey, I wanted to say something a while ago, Jamal. You said something about the Titans never had a play over 10 yards on first or second down or something like that.
First down.
Okay, I saw one the opposite on the Colts. The Colts' third down conversions weren't that good, right? 4 or 10 or something like that.
Yeah, because they kept getting them.
22 times they got a first down on first or second down.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah, well, it was that kind of game.
Got to turn the page. Move on. And unfortunately for the Titans, they have to move on very quick because we play tomorrow night. If you're listening to this live or if you're listening to it, most people are probably going to be listening to this the day of the Titans game, Thursday night, NFL Network against the Jags. And it's the final game of our 3-game homestand here. Another huge game. I think this game is incredibly important for the trajectory of the season, maintaining fan interest. Because if you lose this game, it's going to be bad, fast, really fast. I can already see the posts now that will come of losing this game.
You know what, though? Back 3 weeks ago or so when we saw the schedule, we pretty much said if we can win 3 of the next 4.
Right.
And if they win this game, I mean, even when I said 10-6, I said if they could finish the midway point at 4-4 and then get on a run. Now, I don't think they can do that.
Wait. What's that? Bum bum ba-dum. Are you backtracking on 10-6? What?
Yeah, Mariota's a lot worse than I thought he was.
Well, that's because you thought the offense was perfect for him, and it turns out it's not suited to him at all.
Well, if he's going to miss wide open receivers all over the place, which is what he's doing.
There's a schedule right there, guys.
Yeah, he missed wide open receivers, right?
This week, yeah.
Well, he's done it a lot. He's had some pretty hard play.
That might be the first game this year that we've had any wide receivers wide open.
Right. I think the difference is he was so off that it was obvious to the blind eye watching on TV. You know, when the guys are slapping the ball down, you can't really tell whose fault it is. And, you know, you can put up the argument they're not getting open.
No, they just haven't been getting open. I mean, he has not been consistent, so he has had inaccurate passes at times, but it was pretty bad this week. And in general, we haven't been getting wide receivers open. That's been a struggle for this offense. And
the wide receivers
I wouldn't say that that's incorrect.
The wide receivers need to, I mean, that's definitely part of it. I mean, Andre Johnson does not need to be out there. They need to upgrade over him.
I was shocked he was as wide open. I think that's why Marcus double clutched it. I was like, wait a minute.
But did you see who Andrew Luck was throwing the ball to?
T.Y. Hilton.
Okay.
Doyle.
Yeah, back
Doyle
up.
pisses me off, but I think our linebackers struggle.
You like Delaney Walker better than Doyle? I do.
I do. Apparently, I like their linebackers better. I don't know how that works, but
Their defense was not good against the Titans. That's another thing. I mean, their defense was getting roasted left and right. Just, Murray fell down or Mariota missed the pass or whatever. I mean, their defense was not doing a good job. They were giving up the run left and right.
Yeah. We were averaging,
I
think,
understand.
after the first quarter, sometime in the first half, I saw Superhorn tweeted something about how we're averaging more yards per rush than pass. He's saying, run the ball more.
Which has happened in a few games, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't have Mariota run more this game. I'm still shocked that they don't have a couple plays per game for Henry.
I tell you what I think. This is just my theory. When I rewatched the game, there was a lot of read option in that game, but he kept handing it to Murray. I guarantee you the Colts were waiting. They're not going to get beat by Mariota on the outside. They'd much rather let Murray. Murray's going to get less yards than Mariota, right? That's going to be a bigger chunk play if Mariota runs down the sideline for 20 to 40 yards or whatever.
Right.
So I would guess that the Colts were, okay, keep giving it to Murray. We don't care.
Yeah.
You might get 100 and something yards, but you're not going to get a lot of points doing that.
I don't know what it was.
Score a lot of points and win games with a good run game. That's news to the Titans staff.
Well,
Mr.
you can if you have an effective passing game.
No, in all seriousness, if you're going to run and have run heavy, you have to be able to hit the counter with the deep pass, period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there was at least 2 plays where they could have done that. In execution, Murray fell down and Mariota missed him.
This game,
we talked about this on one of the episodes, I think, that got lost, but I'm starting to feel, especially with this game, DeMarco Murray was really taking a lot of hits. I mean, he runs hard. I'm really surprised that they're not incorporating more plays for Henry just to keep him fresh. And I know he's playing so well that you say, hey, we can't take this guy off the field, but you posted that stat, Jamal. I don't know if it's on Twitter or over on Titans Report about how many seasons that he has been injured. And I think he's only had, 1 or 2 seasons where he's been injury free. And the fact that we've just one, the fact that we've had him, I mean, we're playing week 8 right now, coming up, and no injury yet. I'm really surprised that they aren't trying to do more to get Henry involved and just to spell him. I mean, he doesn't have to get 10, 15 carries a game, but he's only getting 3 or 4 carries here and there a game.
You've got a couple things with it. One is Mike Mularkey in general has tended to favor having a heavy run with one guy. But then in general, I think they talked about it this week or just today even on 104.5 with Greg Cosell. Greg Cosell was saying in his opinion, and I tend to agree, running back is more of a rhythm position than most things. It's like running backs, you want them to be able to get a bunch of carries, get a feel for the game, build up. And he was saying he thinks DeMarco Murray is more of that than most running backs. And so you've got a convergence of a number of things. But yeah, I think Derrick Henry has done well enough. And DeMarco Murray is proven fragile enough over time that they're just playing with fire, and hopefully we don't get burned.
He's not long-term in the plans anyway, though. I mean, that's not something I'm worried about.
But, man, as well as he's playing, I wish he was long-term in the plans. What kind of plan are you making where he's not long-term in the plan?
If you were giving him 10 carries a game, he wouldn't be around much longer. Is he 30 or about to be 30?
I should know this because I think at one point this season we talked about it.
Bring it up, John.
I was going to say 28.
He's 28.
That's my guess.
Yeah, 28.
Well, that's ancient for a running back. It really is.
Well, with as much time as he's missed, he's only had the equivalent of 2 seasons.
Derrick Henry, 22 years old. Yeah, I'm just surprised they're not doing more to keep him fresh, even if he's not in the long-term plans. The fact that he's playing so well now, maybe you could stretch that out an extra year or so that you might not be able to otherwise.
I've actually been tempted in a number of leagues to go out and pick up Derrick Henry in fantasy football, just waiting for that playoff push when DeMarco Murray is injured and the Titans are turning to Derrick Henry heavy.
Yeah. Which is likely if things go down and continue to spiral out of control, probably.
I mean, most running backs get hurt anyway. Running backs pretty regularly miss games. You don't see a lot of guys like Adrian Peterson.
Don't see a lot of guys like Chris Johnson.
He's missed almost the last 2 seasons. He's one of the most injury-prone running backs in the league.
Yeah, he's also like 84.
He's running as well as David Johnson.
In the preseason, they talked about that. Was that this year that they said that?
Seems ridiculous, doesn't it?
I posted that one with a smirk when I saw that.
What was that? Did somebody try to say that in the offseason?
It was in the
Jamal.
offseason. In training camp, their coach came out and said Chris Johnson is running just as well as David Johnson. And David Johnson's a little bit better receiver, but Chris is just great.
So there's the schedule on screen right now, guys. So, yeah, we were talking about if we could win 3 of those next 4, being the Dolphins, Browns, Colts, Jags.
Can you scroll that down a little bit?
Yeah. So we're right there on the verge, and got to win a home game Thursday night against the Jags to do that. And there you cannot see it scrolling, so let me try that again.
The problem is it looks to me like it gets really tough after the Jaguar game.
It does.
The Chargers are back.
Yeah. I think I took them off the guaranteed loss list. Now I'm putting them back on.
I mean, Phillip Rivers is the perfect example of what I was talking about. I mean, guys like him and Luck, I mean, you can have all these problems on the team, but they're so good.
Exactly. When you get that level, you can hide so many other things.
And you know, at the Bears are kind of scrappy, and they'll have Cutler back, which
that's a good thing for us.
It's better than Hoyer, but it's not as good as what's his name from USC, Matt Barkley.
So yeah, I mean, of our next 5 games, well, of until we play the Jags again, this is by far the best chance for the Titans to get a win here. And then you go on the road at San Diego. That's always tough.
Just think about this, though. If you just look at how many division games we got left, that's 4 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take care of those 4 games, which you should be able to, but we seem to have trouble with. You got 7 wins already, right?
Yeah.
So then all you got to do
at the Colts will be tough, I think.
Yeah. Depends on if they stay hot or not.
Man, I'm sure they'll lose to Kansas City next week, by the way.
Saying that, though, is pretty frustrating when you look at it like that, Jamal. Even if we win all 4 of the division games, just to get to 9-7, you got to beat 2 of the Chargers, Packers, Bears, Broncos, Chiefs. 2 of those. So Bears, you think probably the best chance, and then after that,
and then you got to beat the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Packers, or the Chargers.
I guarantee you they'll win some of those games, 1 or 2 of those games.
I mean, it's a convergence of narrative, but the Packers aren't looking.
Yeah, they'll beat the. I mean, it sounds crazy, but they'll beat the Chargers, Packers, but they'll win 1 or 2 of those games. Now they might lose. Yeah. They might lose to the Jaguars.
Yep.
Or something like that. But what honestly against the Colts game, what depressed me is even when they had the lead, that I just came to the realization that they're not ready to be good enough to compete this year. And I came to that realization. I mean, Mariota's way too inconsistent. They've still got some problems on defense, and
special teams might be the worst in the NFL.
Man,
actually, I was going to bring this up on special teams, though. Did you know their coverage units was actually a lot better against the Colts? It was stupid stuff like not picking up the onside kick, and
they were lined up for an onside kick.
Well, they knew it was coming. They coached him on it.
Yeah, they talked on the sideline, unless Malarkey was lying, which I don't think he'd lie in front of the team. I mean, he was obviously telling her. They talked about it on the sidelines right before the Colts kicked it.
That's
the
baffling.
First Colts kickoff. It was kind of an interesting for me thing that I did this week is I was listening to Titans radio, and it was ahead of the actual game. and I was watching it on Sunday Ticket, and so I actually enjoyed knowing what was going to happen with the play and then being able to watch for keys when I actually saw the play happen. But they talked about on the first Colts kickoff, they said the Titans are prepared for this. The Titans know it's coming. They've done it to us. Didn't they do it to us last year?
They've done it so many times.
Plus, all the injuries and stuff, they're the perfect team to do an onside kick. They're desperate. I mean, they want to gain an extra possession.
Yeah,
But
that was pretty close to a must-win game for them.
The botched extra point, I mean, like Malarkey said, that's something the guys do hundreds of times in practice. I mean,
yeah,
that's like the only thing they do in practice.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know who to blame for that stuff. That's Supernall's just got to pick up the ball.
Yeah, I think I tweeted this at one point this week, but it was with that sort of stuff when it comes to execution, and we had execution problems across the team this week. You tend to put those on players until enough time goes by, and then you're going to say, okay, it must be something with coaching because everybody's having problems. We're not at that point with Malarkey yet. And so I think you've got to look at the players and you've got to say, Marcus needs to be able to hit the open passes. They need to be able to execute a freaking extra point. Stop letting teams get solid returns on us. You know, all this stuff, players have to be able to execute.
I think the special team is mainly the roster makeup. They had to pull Mariano off the trash pile because they had no return man. And, you know, they've got all these old receivers like we talked about once before that are used, and Riggs has been hurt, so he hasn't been on the gunner team. When they get more depth, and I'm sure they're going to emphasize special teams in the offseason. Is
Riggs hurt, or is he just not being called up?
He has a hurt hamstring.
I think he was hurt. Yeah,
he's a hamstring. He because I heard in one of them they were talking about he's one of the gunners, and he actually hurt some of the returns they gave up. He would have been the gunner on the side where they gave up the touchdowns. Not that I think he's going to turn the special teams around, but he would help probably.
Oh yeah, I mean that's so much about depth when you talk about those.
They had another player too that was, I can't remember who it was. It was one of the safeties, Cersei. I think he plays on a lot of the coverage teams, and he was out for a couple weeks.
And we've talked enough about on Titans Report about not having injuries that the Titans just finally had to go out and get their share of injuries. So Cox and Spain are both out, and Rashad Johnson. All three of those guys are going to be out for Thursday night. Doesn't sound like any of them are long-term major injuries, but we'd already talked about Schwenke getting beat a couple times in the game against the Colts, so that'll be something to watch too on Thursday night against Jacksonville. So right here, I pulled up now you should be able to see the division standings. So Texans are absolutely awful. Colts just beat us. They're 3-4. We're 3-4. Jags have played one less game. They've already had their bye. They're at 2-4. I mean, just what an absolute disaster of a division right there.
Look at the points for in our division. Houston and Jacksonville are tied for the fewest points in the AFC. Scroll down. Does anyone in the NFC have fewer points than them?
Well,
actually, don't scroll down because you have trouble with that, don't you?
Well, it doesn't actually update live for some reason. When I scroll, it won't display it. I have to shut it down and then open it back up.
Another point about the AFC South. I mean, honestly, the Texans, Titans, and Jaguars, all three of those quarterbacks are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, the Texans, they have a good team and just a terrible quarterback.
Are you ready to admit that having watched Osweiler play more, that you would rather have Peyton Manning quarterbacking a team than him?
From last year?
Yeah.
No.
I see him play and I just say, see, they made the right choice.
I mean, same guy. Well, Manning couldn't throw the ball. That was an embarrassment. He was no better than Osweiler. Maybe he knows the plays better, whatnot. But I mean, if either one of those guys are your quarterback, you got serious problems. It was a miracle they won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning last year.
Yeah, you look at that Titans in the division, 0-2. Every other team, like I said, has a win. Texans 2-0 in the division.
And their home record, 1-3.
Yeah.
You're
That's
1-3 at home and 0-2 in the division. I mean, that's bad.
Mm-hmm. So what about this game against the Jags? I mean, obviously they're a struggling team too. They come in off a tough loss. The week before that, they actually came back and got a win. I can't remember who it was against. I want to say the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
I think
It was.
Bears.
It was the Bears.
Yeah, they came back, got that win. It was a very close game, maybe even been 1 point. And then last week they lose that game, and so now they're sitting at 2-4. In a lot of ways, though, they're kind of like the Titans in that they felt like this was going to be, especially their defense. Man, I mean, they spent so much money on that defense, and they were hoping Bortles. He's older than Mariota, been in the league longer, hoping he could take that next step. And it's just not been very well for them. So we're in a similar spot as the Jags. So who's actually going to rise up in this game and be able to get the win? I really don't know. I can't get a feel for this game at all. Again, I feel like last week on paper, the Titans should win this game. I feel like they're the better team. I feel like they have more talent. But a loss would not shock me in the least in that game tomorrow night. How you guys feeling about it?
I actually disagree with you about the Jaguars and Titans being in the same place. A lot of people thought the Jaguars were headed for good things this year. No one thought the Titans were going anywhere. Their over and under was 6 games.
Outside of Titans fandom, most people thought the Titans were.
I'm saying where they're at now. They're kind of in.
But I mean, the Jaguars are probably the most disappointing team in the league, I would guess, based on their expectations. But
the Jets, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But I would say more people were higher on the Jaguars. But I think as long as the Titans don't do a bunch of the stuff we just named off that lost them the Colts game, they should win. That they can run the ball. They're, Mariota's, if he's the good Mariota, he can put up points. The thing about Mariota is he's really good in stretches, and you can't call him Jake Locker because Jake Locker can't play as good as Mariota when Mariota's playing good. So
he can't play as good as Mariota on Mariota's average. But Mariota,
exactly.
I mean, you look at the highs, the things he does really well, and you say that's still a guy who could, if he continues progressing, he could still become elite because he's making these insane tight window throws. He's doing, whatever.
Yeah, we should just run the ball all the way to the red zone and then just let him pass from there.
But at the same time, he can play bad enough against the Jaguars tomorrow night where they lose.
Yeah, he certainly could. And the Jaguars, granted, they did a lot in garbage time last year, but they've got the tools, the players for a passing attack that should be better than it is. And all it takes is for them to get going on a team, and they can turn that on. I don't tend to think their quarterback is a guy you want to rely on, but he's capable of having a really good game.
You think that, but he hasn't thus far. I don't know if they can or not. I'm more worried. Their defense seems to be getting better. I'd be more worried about like some kind of 13-10 game with, the Jaguars with a chance to win it.
Every time we play the Jags, it's just some crazy game. Last year they had the game where it was Mariota had the big rushing touchdown at the end or near the end to put us ahead.
Did we have a blocked field goal win for us one time?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the
Sammy Lee Hill.
That was the 2-14 season.
Yep.
2 years ago. That was one of their wins.
It's always something crazy. I'm sure the Thursday night ratings are going to be through the roof, though. There's no doubt about that.
Bortles is not going to do to the Titans defense what Luck did. No way.
Man, if he does,
I would hope not.
I'm not coming on next week.
Well, he's not capable. No way.
Every time we say something like that, Jamal, it always turns out to be a twisted prophecy of sorts. I already posted my prediction on the board. I said the wheels come off this week. Mariota's going to have 4 interceptions. Murray goes down in the first quarter, and Bortles throws 4 TDs.
Also, typically on Thursday night, the road team does really bad. Forget the Jaguars. Just typically the road team on Thursday night usually struggles. Usually gets blown out, really.
I might not even watch this game just so I don't have to look at Jacksonville's uniforms.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not on streaming on Twitter this week. You and I were talking about that, Jamal. I love it when they stream on Twitter. I don't know why they just didn't do every game like that this year, but I think this one is NFL Network only this week.
So like 5 people are going to be able to watch it.
CBS is playing The Bachelor or something. What are they doing?
Well, they're going to go up against a Cubs game too, aren't they?
Oh, God.
Cubs Indians.
Will they be playing tomorrow? Because they're playing
tonight for the second night in a row. They might not be playing tomorrow.
I think tomorrow's travel day.
Okay.
Yeah. World Series.
The one matchup that could lose to baseball, this one right here.
Oh, yeah. Well, with the Cubs and
Indeed.
I think they did like an 11-something for the game last night. With the Cubs and the Indians in here, there's a lot of attention on it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Relative to baseball.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I joke the Titans should absolutely win this game. And we're going to see, if they – I really do think this is so important for the rest of the year. If we win this game, I think we could actually close out strong and have a 500 season, which considering where we were, you would have to say, hey,
that's a success
this year.
If they can win 7, 8 games, 9's probably too much. If they can win 7 or 8 games, that would probably be a success.
Yeah, they lose this one though. You're hard pressed to find wins, and fan interest is going to plummet if you lose another home game. Like
as long as Mariota's improving, and
How about you, Jamal? What are your final thoughts here as we wrap up?
I'm just debating whether or not to hassle Scotty.
About that week one prediction.
7 wins would be a success. Didn't you tell me like if they only win 6 games that it would be like a complete disaster?
Oh, they're still winning more than 3 games the rest of the way. That was locked up a couple weeks ago.
Man.
Do you know they're only one of like 3 teams that have been within a less than 1 score in the fourth quarter in every game?
No.
I mean, they've definitely been there. It wouldn't surprise me if Indy was the other one.
Most teams have a win where they're so far gone from the opponent that they don't qualify for that.
They could honestly easily be 5-2. I mean, that's not a stretch at all.
No, it's true.
And when I picked 10-6, I said as long as Mariota don't stink it up, he did.
Well, no, I'm contrasting where you said, man, if they only win 6 games, I think you called it like it would have to be a complete disaster.
If they only win,
and then
6
you were
games,
just
it's a disaster. Yes, I stick by that.
But then 7 wins is a solid season. Like, how do you go 1 more win is disaster and solid?
It's about the eye test too. I mean,
yeah, that's what I said. As long as they're showing improvement, Mariota improved. I said as long as they win 7 or 8 and show improvement.
Yeah.
If we're at 6 wins on that last game and we get a blocked field goal to win, and to
Jamal,
go to 7 wins.
Jamal, you combed the schedule, and all you could find, no matter how hard you tried, was 6 wins.
I'm looking pretty good on that right now.
Really?
Yeah.
They're probably going to have 4 wins at the halfway point.
They should beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. They should have beat the Colts last week.
Should have beat the Texans too.
Should have beat the Texans. Should have beaten the Raiders.
I don't think the Texans game was the Texan game was the one that the Texans and Raider games are the games I'm not going to say they should have won. They had to come back against the Raiders.
Well, the Texans, it was that stupid punt return. Mariota was bad in that game, but that punt return is what.
But that was
defense played really well, and Osweiler, he's just
every defense plays well against Osweiler. we were talking about Mariota's yards per pass against the Colts. It was like 6.5. Did you see Osweiler's against the Broncos?
No.
It's the lowest yards per pass in the Super Bowl era of a quarterback that threw 30 passes or more. 3.25 or something like that.
That's hard to do with their receiver options.
It really is.
I was about to say, man, I'm a DeAndre Hopkins fantasy owner. Woo.
Well, Fuller and Hopkins can't get open, man. They can't get open.
Let's revisit a question we talked about preseason. Who's the best coach in this division? I think I'm down to Pagano now.
It's not Pagano.
It's got to be Pagano at this point.
No, he's got luck. Whoever's got Andrew Luck is the best coach.
More luck than the obvious luck there.
Did you see Pagano's face? It made me sick. He was so scared he was about to get fired. He didn't care how they did it or whatever. He was just so happy they won.
Yeah, he was.
Because, hey, I really think he's close to getting fired.
I don't think he'll survive the season. I mean, unless
he'll get fired.
If they go on to the playoffs,
I think they win the division.
But
if the Texans keep up like this, it's the Colts for the taking.
I just don't see how the Texans can win the division with the quarterback play.
And if Luck keeps, I don't know if they change something up against us, but he was getting the ball out so fast. If they're able to stick with that, and they're going to play better teams.
Luck can't maintain that play right there. I mean, it's not a knock on him. I just don't think almost anybody can. I mean, he was phenomenal.
Yeah. I still I'd need to pull up their schedules again, but like right now, the way they're playing, the Colts are clearly playing the best right now.
Well, it's probably going to be 7 or 8 wins, honestly.
So just thinking back on this, as wrong as you were about the Titans, you're probably more wrong about the Texans, weren't you? You thought we'd win 10 games and not win the division?
Yes, I thought the Texans would be a very good team.
But they're without Watt now, and Osweiler, I don't think anybody could have predicted how bad he was.
Of course.
So that was kind of a low, cheap shot.
Yeah, the same with Mariota. I mean, I never dreamed Mariota would be this bad and this inconsistent.
He's not. Man. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I've found one big flaw of this software, unless you guys can find it for me. I cannot see how long we've been going. We could have been going 2 hours or 30 minutes.
If you
Am I just overlooking?
Away from the Titan fan base and hear Mariota talked about, it's not pretty.
Oh, yeah? I actually haven't even bothered to this year.
Yeah, it's not pretty. I mean, what's wrong with Mariota? I mean, the Colts game, someone posted the Colts message board. I went on there and looked. They were laughing at Mariota. Oh, my God, he's terrible. Now, I'm not saying they're right. I don't think watching one game will give you but he's been pretty bad in a lot of the games that they won and some of the games they lost. He's inconsistent.
I think he's inconsistent. I don't think
he's inconsistent, no doubt.
Yeah. And when he's bad,
I think it's a stretch.
He's terrible. When he's bad, he's terrible.
When he's bad, he's throwing an interception or fumbling the ball. I mean, it's hard not to be terrible.
He's a turnover machine. You've got to stop turning the ball over.
Well, I was going to say that too, because in the middle of the game, everybody was just all over him the whole game. And I was saying, I'll take this all day over the turnover machine. And then he did that. He turned it over at the end. But
he fumbled 2 snaps. I mean, he threw the interception.
Yeah, that was those were both second half.
So, you mean
all the turnovers? I was talking like in the middle of the game. Yeah. I was saying if we were talking about, he overthrew that guy. I'm like, if that's the worst thing he does the rest of this game is overthrow people, that's fine with me. Just do not turn the ball over.
Not if you're doing it every other pass.
I mean, but he was like 22
He's not doing it every
30 something. He had a completion percentage that was fine. He missed wildly on a couple of passes.
Don't even give me his 61 completion. Everyone has a 60 completion percentage. That's not even.
But so then
that's not even
at
good.
the very least, he's not missing every other pass, isn't he? I mean, I'm countering a specific statement you made. You said
that is missing. That is factually correct. He's missing way more than take the what was the Dallas game with Locker when Troy Aikman was going. Oh man, that's a pass a NFL quarterback has to make. Mariota is making way too many of those missed throws that a basic average quarterback has to make.
I saw 2 or 3 of those this game. I haven't felt that I've seen those in other games, but
2 or 3?
Yeah.
That's it? Well, what the hell is anyone griping about then? He played great.
Well, I saw
Andrew Luck make 2 or 3.
No, but there's a difference between a missed pass and a pass that you're just like, what the hell? He was wide open. How did you throw it there? You know, like the pass to Andre Johnson. Andre Johnson, he had 3 or 4 yards when he stopped, and it was timed right. And then when Luck threw it, not Luck. When Mariota threw it, he threw it 3 or 4 yards to the side. I mean, it was nowhere close to him. He had another one to Tajay Sharp on the left side. I don't know if Tajay ran too deep, but I mean, he nowhere close to Tajay Sharp. Those are the ones that are just like baffling. Quarterbacks miss passes in general. You're going to find those at any time, any quarterback. but it's the ones that are baffling, and I haven't seen too many of those this season.
Well,
I've seen fumbles way too much. I've seen idiot interceptions.
his ball placement does not put the pass catcher in the spot where they can get a lot of yards after catch very often, and that's a problem. Even one, I can't remember if it was the Miami or Cleveland game, I heard him criticized for not being accurate enough to get the guys yards after catch and stuff. But I mean, 2 or 3 bad passes, that's insane.
2 or 3.
I'd have to watch his rewatch the season so far to be able to have an opinion on the yards after catch placement.
Yeah, because I vividly remember us talking about that last season as a positive. Multiple times on this show, we talked about his placement and how well he was placing balls. So there's definitely something going on.
He does it well at times. I mean, I've said it myself. He's inconsistent. At times, he looks great.
Yeah.
But he's inconsistent way too often.
You know what's crazy, though? I was looking at this the other day. We were talking about, I agree. I mean, there's no doubt he's been inconsistent, but you compare his numbers this year to last year, he's almost on the exact same pace in terms of numbers.
Oh, I know. And he had the game against the Saints and the Buccaneers.
The one thing that's different this
Those
year
were
that's
definitely
much
outliers.
better are the sacks and the fumbles, and that's, of course, a direct result of fewer sacks. You're not going to fumble as much. Everything else is almost his completion percentage, his quarterback rating, his touchdowns, his interceptions. He's played 7 games now. Last year he played 12 games. Go and look sometime, to listeners out there. Go and look. It's crazy. It's almost exactly the same, and yet I feel completely different. The eye test is completely different.
It's the expectations.
No, but he looks uncomfortable. I mean, he doesn't look settled.
I hate to break this to you, but he looked uncomfortable quite often last year.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch the Buccaneer game, in the second half, some of his passes, you're like, oh my God, what's he doing?
He barely played the second half in that game.
He still played. And the Saints game, the play I posted where, I mean, give me a break. That might be the worst pass he's ever thrown. But he had 4 touchdowns. The one against the Saints where he dropped back and threw it into triple coverage and they were fighting over the ball.
Oh, the Delaney Walker touchdown.
Yeah, that was the worst pass possibly he's ever thrown. But it went for a touchdown, so nobody was analyzing it. If he did that right now, everybody like, oh my God, he's terrible now. What happened?
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between talking about a bad pass and talking about how settled he looks. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's dropping back from center more and things like that. But I mean, the double clutching on passes.
He had a better passer rating under center last year than he did in shotgun by 10 points.
He did, but it also wasn't quite as big a percentage of his game, right? Whereas this year, it's a totally different offense.
Wait a minute. Last year,
unsettled, and there are a lot of different things you could point to. Last year, he didn't have that look to him.
I say he did. I recently watched all his passes, and just last year he was a rookie, and everyone was happy, especially after he had the first game. And when he made the bad throws, people weren't as up. Now you expect him to be better. It's the expectations. It's not him. He's not.
So when analysts after last year were saying, and I mean, many analysts were saying he has settled the question of whether or not he can play in a pro-style offense, were they just going off of like rookie expectations?
Yeah, him and Winston both. I mean, they're both struggling at times. I think people expect too much too soon.
I agree with that, for sure.
I mean, honestly, I'm guilty of this myself. I meant to bring this up sooner. There's only 16 games. Every week you wait for the game, and when he struggles, it's more frustrating than if you look at the big picture and think, well, he's only started so many games. Just relax and see how he's doing toward the end of the year, early next year. I mean, people expect way too much, including me.
It's so hard to do as fans. You're right. In the middle of a season like this, to be able to take that step back and look at the big picture.
I thought in a huge game against the Colts, your emotions are high. I mean,
And you posted that about Bill Walsh today. I think it was McLean who said you really need to see a guy for 20 games in a system, a quarterback, before you can really say and just show improvement. He doesn't have to arrive and be
key right there. That was the key to me. Just show improvement, not be
master.
there.
Yeah.
I said it earlier, but I broke my own rule because I watched some of these passes. I'm like, oh my God. But as long as he's shown a lot by the time it's to do his 5th-year option, which will be after the 2017 season, because they're not replacing him. I mean, he's the quarterback.
Yeah. And and just we need to wrap up here. I'm pretty sure we've been going for quite some time now, but just to end any debate, at least here on the podcast, I think we all three agree it's completely ridiculous to even suggest or even talk about getting rid of Malarkey at this point, because if you do something like that, I think there was one Titans Report user who said that he heard McLean talking about this, that apparently John Robinson was already, not satisfied, or I don't know. I never heard it confirmed anywhere. Did you guys?
Did you
hear
see
that confirmed anywhere?
I emailed McLean and he responded to me. I posted it.
So it is. Oh, he did say that.
No, that's not what he said. He said,
okay.
All I said was Malarkey was on the hot seat.
Oh, that's meaningful.
Yeah, see, I think
that's meaningful. His seat should be as cold as anyone.
I think
he's a new coach.
It was McLean's opinion. I specifically asked him if he had.
I hope it's his opinion, because that, as someone who is adamantly against Malarkey, thought it was a terrible hire, that would be an even worse mistake to go and get rid of him after one season. You've got to let this play out.
The team is
for better for worse.
Improved. The team's improved. We're arguing over whether or not they're going to go have 8 or 10 wins.
No, we're arguing over like 7 or 8 wins, but
okay, they won 2 and 3 the last 2 years.
No, I agree. It's a low bar, and they've climbed over that. He's 5-11. He's coached 16 games now for us. So he has a season worth of games. He's 5-11. One of the reasons that it was a risk to hire him is because the 2-7 with this team last year and his history before that is going to make his seat hotter than you would want it to be in general. You should have a coach get 3 years, period, unless he's just blowing the team up.
He didn't go 2-7 with this team. That's ridiculous.
He went 2-7 with this team last year, didn't he?
No, that was not even close to this team.
He was the coach of the Titans, the Tennessee Titans, and under his coaching last year, they went 2-7.
And that team was lucky to win 2 games, no matter who the coach was.
Okay.
They
still went 2-7, and he was still the coach. It's still his record.
Anybody who thinks Malarkey's on the hot seat is an idiot. He's not, I guarantee.
Or that he even should be.
He's not.
Should be is the problem.
He's not.
It should not be. And if it is, then that's incredibly disappointing.
Some dude that used to follow the team 20 years ago mentioned it on the pregame show. That's all he did.
He's got connections, though. I mean, it's more meaningful than if I said he was on the hot seat.
He said in the chat room years ago, I no longer have connections to the Titans. He said that in our chat room.
Well, McLean once told us on the podcast that the Texans would absolutely not rest their starters. And then the very next game, they rested their starters.
They rested some of their backups.
Oh, man. No, I love McLean, but yeah, he was way off on that. I just think even as a topic of discussion, because I think it's important for us to come out and say that me and Jamal, especially, because we were adamantly against the hire, to do that would just be completely asinine, ridiculous, crazy, whatever word you want to use.
If they were 0-7 right now, you could start discussing it. But even then, I would say, hey, give him time.
Mm-hmm. Even if
I hate the idea that he's hired, and if you want to discuss some of the problems we're having, I think it's related to the scheme. But he still needs to be the coach. You still need to let Marcus have a system and grow within that system. And then if you're going to move on later.
Going into this game, they had the top 10 offense and defense. They're one of the best running teams. Mariota's one of the best protected quarterbacks. I mean, it's ludicrous to say he's on the hot seat.
They've played the 32nd, 31st, 30th, and 28th ranked defense by DVOA so far this year. I mean, it's as easy a schedule as you want to get, and those teams were injured when we played them. But it's clear that we're better. And
Okay,
you know,
the
people
owner's
on
not
Titans
sitting there looking at that, going, "Well, there's a 30-second DVOA. And he's on the hot seat."
No, he's not. But this is the thing that was somebody mentioned this on TitansReport.com, and it's a good point. The fact of the matter is, Marcus Mariota, unless he just starts throwing passes like the ones that really upset you last week, unless that's like super common,
those passes
he's at least being protected.
Didn't upset you?
No, they did. But I'm saying unless that becomes like super common, then don't freak out, because he's at least being protected, and he's going to have time to grow into his NFL career. And if he wasn't being protected, or if he was just completely going crazy as a quarterback and just completely regressing beyond the Mariota's regressing kind of crap that people post
on the hot seat, exactly.
And that's not happening. So people just need to chill. And I mean, as the leader of the pack on the anti-Mike Mularkey fan club, just people need to chill.
Well, I don't blame people for being on the anti-hire Mike Mularkey bandwagon, but that's already happened.
Yeah.
And if you judge him from this year, I don't even count last year. I don't care. I mean, they weren't winning last year with Vince Lombardi. He's done a good job this year. He's done a good job. The biggest problem with the offense is Mariota's inconsistency. That's the biggest problem with it.
And if you dig into why is he inconsistent, that's when you get into the whole question of, is their approach a good one with the scheme?
Well, he had the same problems coming out of college. Every scouting report has exactly what he's struggling with.
And they designed an offense that features those things instead of minimizing those things.
You have to be an NFL pocket passer.
You still don't want to design an offense around your quarterback's weaknesses. It just doesn't make sense.
You just want him throwing a bunch of crossing patterns, short crossing
I would like an offense that is tailored to the quarterback instead of the running back.
Well, that's a broad, vague term.
Their offensive coordinator mocked the fact that other NFL teams tailor the game to their quarterback and throw short passes.
If he completes passes, offense is fine. When Rashard Matthews is running open for a touchdown, you got to hit him with it. That's what you're paid to do. Yeah. Sorry.
He is not maximizing the plays they're calling. The plays they're calling are not maximizing his skill set. One of those relates to the coach. One of them relates to the quarterback. So there's problems.
Plays were fine Sunday. The quarterback wasn't.
And why is the quarterback not? Does it relate to the plays being called?
Because he's a young player. He's struggling.
He's just magically, no matter what they called, he'd be struggling.
So you think in the right system, how good would he be? Would he be Tom Brady good?
Not this year. Certainly not. No.
So that's the question, though. We don't know.
It's more to do with his experience and the fact that he's barely a rookie. More than the system?
I don't think that's true. I think a lot. I mean, I watch the games. We just had this discussion, so you're going to disagree. But I watch the games, and I think he looks very unsettled. I think a large part of that relates to the things they're asking of him being things that he's just not good at. So he needs to get better at that. He needs to be able to execute what they're asking him to do. But I think a lot of the fact that he looks unsettled and is playing as he is has a lot to do with what they're asking him to do. It doesn't matter. They're not going to stop asking him to do this. So he needs to get better at it.
These are basic plays. I mean, they all run a lot of the same plays. I mean, he's double clutching the ball because he don't want to throw an interception. He's afraid of making mistakes. I mean, it's understandable.
Would you ask Derek Zoolander to turn left? No. That's what they're doing.
No, they're not. If you can't complete an out pattern in the NFL, you got problems.
Yeah, but I think what Jamal's getting at there is the idea that, let's say you're a basketball player and you're in Phil Jackson's triangle offense and you're totally not made for that offense. Well, that might start making you screw up your layups too, because you're so worried about messing up and you're not playing well in the triangle offense. Then you start missing the easy ones. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but you can't just say he missed this easy pass. He has to hit that every single 100 times and act like nothing else matters. I mean, there are so many factors that go into determining his comfort level overall on a game-to-game basis, that it's not just one thing.
So what should he be doing, John? What should the offense be?
I'm not an offensive coordinator. all I
Neither
know
is Jamal.
is that it's
How do
absolutely
you know?
not designed around Mariota's strengths.
Well, I
It's
mean,
not.
they specifically said they designed it around the running game.
Right. I mean, that's on record. That's not
Which
even
is a
up
smart
for
thing.
debate. Right.
They should have ran the ball
philosophy.
more against the Colts.
That's one philosophy. Some people would say you make your quarterback better by running the football, protecting him. Other people would say you throw more, get him into a rhythm. It's just different philosophies.
I mean,
And-
did you see Superhorn's comparisons to Brady and some of the other guys that are so good now? He's not. I mean, he's pretty close to the trajectory where those guys were.
He's pretty close to Brady in his second year. Brady was a 6th-round draft pick or whatever. I mean, he should have a different set of expectations
Do
based
you
on
think
where
Brady
he
would
was
be
coming into the
drafted
league.
higher than the 6th round if the draft was held again? I mean, I can name a million players that were drafted too low.
Yeah, but I think Brady on another team in another situation never would have had a chance, let alone played well. I mean, he didn't even play that well to begin with. He was just mistake-free, which is one of the problems Mariota has. But he was carried by his defense early on.
Which is what you want to do with a young quarterback. Defense, run
With
the ball.
some young quarterbacks, yes. With other young quarterbacks, what is their skill set and how do you maximize that? They've generally ignored that. And although they're adjusting, I give them a lot of credit for adjusting, getting rid of as much noise as they had, getting rid of as much trick plays as they had, going back to more of the option stuff. Even though I hate options, that's clearly an attempt to get Marcus Mariota comfortable.
They need to run him more, no doubt about it.
I hate that though.
Well, if you can't complete passes
it worked with Russell
consistently, you better
Wilson.
run.
It worked with Wilson, getting him into.
No,
Yeah.
hey, Wilson
It's
was
different with
throwing
him.
the ball well, and then they started doing the option later after RG3 was doing it well. They incorporated the option stuff later in the season.
Just in terms of him running, though, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
ran from the beginning.
Oh yeah, I just mean designed runs.
Right.
Right. Whereas Wilson is more of a scrambler. I mean, one of the things with Marcus Mariota that's fascinating is he's a good runner, but he doesn't do it on non-designed runs. Like, and that's one of the things that I don't remember if it was last year or even before the draft, where people were talking about he is a system quarterback. He will, to a fault, try and execute the play.
Yep.
And you see that constantly with him where he should be taking off, but to a fault, he is going to stand in there and try to find the pass. And he just had, these are weaknesses of his, and how do you minimize them? At this point, they haven't necessarily, or at least at the beginning of the season, that wasn't their focus. Their focus was establish the run, not minimize the weaknesses of your quarterback. And I think that very quickly they figured out this is not working. And to their credit, they have adjusted. And they will continue to adjust.
How bad would the offense be if they weren't establishing the run?
Hard to tell. They would have made totally different off-season moves in the draft, free agency, trades. They would have done completely different if they had designed an offense around Marcus Mariota.
I mean, if you think that would have magically fixed his inconsistency, yeah, okay. I don't believe that to be true.
No, I don't think that's what Jamal's saying. I think I think we're both talking much more big picture. No, I mean, there's really no way. It's two different philosophies that are both sound philosophies that NFL teams try, with quarterbacks, protect him with the running game, protect him with a strong offensive line, doing this, doing that, versus building it around him right away and letting him make the mistakes. Maybe
He's not ready for that.
Well, maybe not, but maybe if we did what Jamal said, maybe it's one of those things where you get through the growing pains faster. Maybe you have that Peyton Manning rookie year where he sets the record for interceptions, but then by year 2, he knows that system like the back of his hand.
I still don't know what Jamal said.
For him.
Jamal said do what? He said what not to do. He didn't say what to do.
I mean, how many times have you talked about it
around him, around Mariota, not the running game?
But not only that, I mean, how many times
spread the field and throw it, or what?
Yes. How many times have we talked about this? The offense, if you designed it around Marcus Mariota, and they would have much more detail on this, a much better idea. But in general, it would feature spreading the field wide a lot more, short and intermediate passes, playing from shotgun. Those are things that we didn't do. We went out and we acquired thank goodness, DeMarco Murray, but he and Marcus Mariota have a different set of strengths and weaknesses, and they're not well acclimated to each other. And the fact that we're trying to blend those skill sets is a challenge for this coaching staff. And I think it's pretty clear as you watch the games.
If you did what you're saying, this is my opinion, your time of possession is going to suck. He's going to turn the ball over more. Your defense is going to be on the field. It'd be a total train wreck.
You would probably not have 3 wins right now, and you wouldn't have been in the other games. It's pretty much true. But
okay, if you're agreeing that, you're just saying
what's going to be the best.
Oh my God, a coaching staff isn't going to do that.
Well,
no
certainly
way.
not one that went 2-7 the year before and has
No
one of the worst winning
That's what the Colts
percentages in
did
history.
with Peyton Manning.
That's what Carolina did with Cam Newton. They designed an offense that people said, this is not sustainable. This is weird. This is funky.
It looked bad early on.
It still does.
Oh yeah, when they were in the Super Bowl,
they had one good year. I would say Cam Newton has not developed as a passer, and Peyton Manning, give me a break. Mariota ain't no Peyton Manning.
It's
What was Peyton Manning's stats his second year? I mean, that guy was already elite in year 2, and he threw almost 30 touchdowns as a rookie.
That's what we're saying, though. If you were, I mean,
how many touchdowns did Marcus Mariota throw in his first 16 games, though? Didn't he throw almost 30 in his first 16 games?
He was on pace to break all kinds of records
years
before he got hurt last year. He was on pace to break a ton of records before he got hurt.
I think comparing
every week
Mariota to Luck or Manning is a challenge because those are 2 of the most astounding prospects.
Yeah, exactly.
But Marcus Mariota, compared to almost anyone else, you shouldn't have different expectations. He was drafted number 2 overall for a reason. And the big question was, can he succeed in the NFL? Because he's a spread quarterback. There are a lot of system questions with him. And what they did this year was they just disregarded that. And they said, he will figure it out. Okay, he might. But some of the reasons why he is looking uncomfortable is because they're asking him to do that. I don't think it's much of a stretch to say that.
But you admit they might win 2 or 3 games doing that. What you say.
I think that when you don't have a ball control offense, it hurts the defense.
And you have a turnover machine at quarterback.
And you could have a turnover machine at quarterback. I mean, you're playing with hypotheticals, but they took a NFL rushing attack that was complete trash last year. And they brought in entirely new people, and it's one of the best rushing attacks. Could they have prospectively done that with the passing attack, brought in a bunch of wide receivers?
No.
You can't prove it, though, right?
You
don't know what would have happened.
Protection.
I don't believe a guy.
But you do know that Marcus Mariota would be more comfortable in that, and it would be something that is a better base for his skill set.
You can't prove that.
I think that goes without saying that he would be more comfortable.
I don't know if he would be or not. He's double clutching the ball. I don't think that has anything to do with the system. Do you think Peyton Manning in the same system would have missed the passes that Mariota did last week?
I think Peyton Manning, without having the control over an offensive system that he was given, would not have been Peyton Manning.
Yeah, it's not just Manning. I mean, it's every case is different. It's going to absolutely be different based on the skill set, and that, like I keep saying, I mean, I just think it's a different big picture philosophy. This philosophy that they're employing can work.
Hey,
it
anyway,
absolutely can work.
The big picture, he'll be doing that stuff down the road. He's not ready to do it right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, hopefully he will.
They'll expand the playbook and all that stuff. I mean, that's the normal progression for a quarterback. This isn't just something new for Mariota. Ben Roethlisberger, they ran the ball more than anybody his first 2 years. What they're doing with Mariota is not some crazy conservative coach
but
thing.
Don't you think he is so unlike? I mean, there are only a few quarterbacks that I can think of in the history of the league that have that particular skill set and come from that type of offense. I mean, there's a long history of failed spread quarterbacks in this league who never make it.
Yeah. Okay.
And so do you want to design an offense that maximizes their strengths or maximizes their weaknesses? I mean, that's the thing. They ignored the fact that he's somewhat of a unique quarterback. And it's a risk, and we'll see how it plays out. And I don't think 5-6 years from now, if he continues to progress, I don't think Mike Mularkey is going to be running a spread offense. I don't think Mike Mularkey will ever have an offense that is truly tailored to Marcus Mariota's skill set. I think Marcus will grow within the Mike Mularkey offense.
Well, I mean, they run a lot of spread stuff. They throw the ball. I mean, it's not like they're in they let him do some of that stuff, but the more he does it well, the more he'll do it.
Yeah, and I think he's good enough to be able to fit eventually in the offense and to be able to hopefully get comfortable enough to where he can make those easy throws that we talk about him missing. Because if he doesn't, then they're going to be, we're going to be talking about another
quarterback, another head
loss.
coach.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be talking about.
Yep.
Mularkey will be gone before Mariota if it doesn't work.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, if it goes so badly that Mike Mularkey gets fired, I think that would be related mostly to Mariota's development. And then the question is, can his career be redeemed? Can it be saved? And that's just
that happens all the
scary.
time. These guys change systems all the time. And anyway, it's not headed that way. We've already seen enough that it's not headed that way.
One can hope. And hopefully they get it started this tomorrow against Jacksonville.
Hope. There you go. Thanks for that transition, Jamal. This has been episode 125 of the Two-Tone Crew live. If you were listening in, thanks for tuning in. If you weren't listening live, keep an eye on the Titans Report Twitter account. It is just at Titans Report, because we might try to make this a regular occurrence if everything goes well on the post-production side of things. So hopefully I'll be able to get this uploaded live and everything will go smoothly on that. And you can also reach us, of course, at Titans Report, just the main website there, titansreport.com. We are on iTunes. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/Titans Report. You could also leave us a voicemail if you want, 615-900-0282. Once again, that's 615-900-0282. And make sure you rate and review us on iTunes. Also, we're on Stitcher, Android, pretty much anywhere you can download and find podcasts. We are there available. So this has been episode 125. And I will probably do an episode